Hello, Cobleskill. Today we're going to discuss extracurriculars and clubs on campus with Cheyenne, our SGA president, and Savannah Zaneski, a student at SUNY Cobleskill. I'm this week's host, John Gertz, and this is Coby Table Talk. Jumping right into it, a lot of students don't know where to go for extracurricular activities on campus. Can you talk about your responsibilities as SGA president and what happens at your meetings and where students can find you?
Sure. So mostly what happens at our SGA meetings is where students can come forth and bring concerns or advocacy efforts that they'd like student government to take a stance on to push forward that advocacy to get things done here on campus. A lot of the times it's issues that we have on campus that are already being worked on through the student government. Clubs are also there bi-weekly, so they have a club delegate rep, and they represent their club. They come and speak on club's behalf. So any concerns or great things they're doing, they do announcements to really push it out to the student body. What I do as SGA president is I run the meetings. I have 8 office hours a week, and I'm basically the leader to really push forward these advocacy efforts and have those meetings with the cabinet members and lead my team for a successful year.
And anyone can just show up to those meetings?
Anyone can show up. There's a few steps to become a senator, which is a voting member, to really take a hand on these initiatives that we're trying to take forward. So there is a couple more steps to that, but yeah, it's open to any student or community member or faculty.
And where and when?
Oh yeah, so I should have mentioned that, right? So they meet Tuesdays at 12:30 in the theater. So 12 o'clock people start running in, and we have a little icebreaker time.
That big Bauk room?
Yep, that big Bauk ballroom. Next to the Bauk ballroom, the theater in Bauk.
Okay, awesome. On campus, when you have a bit of free time, what do you guys do to socially unwind?
You can go, yeah.
Okay, all right. So I'm a commuter now this semester. I was living on campus for a year and a half, but mixing all of that in between. A lot of the times for clubs during classes, I'd swing through. So pre-vet, I try to make meetings as best as I can, depending on the class times and when it occurred. Ski and Snowboard Club, as it opened up last year, was great because a ton of people do that. So that's a really big extensive on campus with the meetings, and then off campus, like the Ski and Snowboard Club's going to an expo next weekend. So
that's fantastic.
It's a great way to get students off, and of course, you know, what else are you supposed to do during the winter with snow? So it's a good thing to do.
Especially here at
Cobleskill. I mean, it's a great thing to do. And then a lot of the times, if there's other smaller meetings, or like if there's movies going on, or like comedians here, or a lot of just open gym too, just going and shooting some hoops around there.
Absolutely. All right. So a lot of students don't know how many clubs we have to offer. Can you give us a rundown of our clubs and what SGA offers students with them?
Sure. So we have over 43 clubs here recognized on campus, and they range from the woodsman team that does the woodworking and their axe throwing and all those fun things to the LGBTQ club for that safe zone for students that reflect with those membership. So our clubs and our students are very diverse here on SUNY Cobleskill, and every time a club wants to become a club, so it's called an interest group, they go through the SGA charter process, and it's relatively easy. So honestly, any group that wants to take a passion on this campus and have a safe place for them, they can come and have it chartered at SGA. So there's a huge range of clubs, and how they get to know that, students here on campus, where those clubs are meeting. They come to the Office of Student Leadership in Bauk. We have a wall of fame of club flyers to kind of see where they're meeting this semester, because it's always a changing, aspect of clubs. And we have an Excel sheet where we keep all of the records where the clubs are meeting, and we're always telling students this is where they meet, this is the contact, and if students just came into OSL, the Office of Student Leadership, they would know where every club, over 43 of them, meet every week, nearly every week. Some meet bi-weekly. Yeah,
that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
So personally, between the two of them, what clubs are you a part of? Is there anything you want to promote? And just for anyone who's up and coming, how much commitment do clubs require?
So student government's an organization where that's the only thing I'm part of right now.
Okay.
But back to freshman year, I was a part of the Plant Science Club, the Ag Business Club, and I would say as a member, and you could probably bounce off of this, it's as much as you want to make it. You can be the most involved club member as well and go run for office in the spring, or you can be that club member that participates in some events and comes to meetings occasionally, but is still an advocate for that club. So I think it really is based off of your commitment of what you want to do. particularly in SGA, it is a full-time job, especially as president. You're required 8 office hours a week, but I'm easily in there more. So it's also a commitment thing. How much do you want to put in? Is it based off the passion, or is it based off other things? It should really be based off of passion. So.
Okay. And what clubs are you a part of?
So right now I'm Ski and Snowboard Club, and then pre-vet it's more of I'm assigned with the email outgoing, so I'm trying to keep up with that because I can't make the meeting times. And then Ski and Snowboard Club, like I said, a lot of the extracurricular outgoings and events I would attend. But it's kind of like Cheyenne said, it's a lot more, again, of you wanting to put your time in. Of course, like if you're an officer for a club, there's more restrictions and commitments you have to make because you're above the average student who's just, attending those meetings. But again, relating back, it's all about passion. You're in that club because of that interest. So it's what you want to make it.
Definitely, I agree.
Thanks so much. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be discussing how to enroll in a club and where to get started. Welcome back. As mentioned before, we're going to discuss how to enroll in a club and where to get started. So if I'm interested in joining a club, what do I do to become a member?
So usually a student would say that they already know about that club because their peers already know about that club because they're interested about that passion. But if you want to be formal about it, you can come into the office of student leadership, get the time that they meet, the contact information of the officers, and start going to that club. Club membership is a variation. It's depending on that club's constitution and their rules, but usually it's open to any student that's willing to make that commitment, as we stated before, to really get involved. I'm not aware of any club membership guidelines that they have to go through in any club. I'm pretty sure if you just go to the meetings, you're going to become a member, and that's across the board. Variation, yeah.
So, to both of you, what are some of the accomplishments you've made in your clubs, and what clubs have you made on campus?
You can go first.
I haven't personally made any clubs in regards to that.
Okay, that's fine.
It's a lot more of being there in support for that club. I mean, the Ski and Snowboard Club, again, it started last year. I had a few other peers who were the ones that started that and had started attending meetings. It's more of, going to those events to help that club get recognized more, because I think that's a big portion of it, because if you don't attend those events and those meetings, there's no going forward with recognition. The more members you have, the more people that know about it, the better you can progress in that.
Yeah. I remember as a freshman I wanted to start a club. I was really into tennis, and I was like, I'm going to start a tennis club, and that fell through because there were so many more amazing clubs. Not more, but there were so many options that I could choose from to fill my time. So I haven't started a club, but as SJ president, I've definitely helped get clubs there. Ski and Snowboard, that was a perfect example. We helped them get there with that membership, that commitment. But the clubs that are chartered right now, it's always expanding. There's a wrestling club right now as an interest group, not a club yet, but there's that passion to be there. So it's ever changing, and I definitely feel like I've had a hand in helping that out, and that would be one of my accomplishments for sure.
Awesome, absolutely. What are some things that you would like to see improved with clubs and extracurriculars on campus?
One thing I'd like to see improved with clubs is there's a travel policy that SJ is trying to take a stance on, that the advisors have to go to, the event with the van with the students. We feel as though that we're college students, we are young adults, that liability is already there. There shouldn't have to be an advisor on every trip, especially for clubs that go weekly. Especially archery club, they go to Middleburg a weekly, and they have to have the advisor in that van. We don't think it's fair, so that's something I'd like to see change here at SUNY Cobleskill, and we're advocating for that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And it shouldn't be too difficult to get like a van license either.
Yeah. No, a lot of students have that certification, but then they had that added on barrier of having to find an advisor to go, which an advisor's not paid. They're doing
it's
this.
all volunteer at that point.
So we recognize that barrier, and we want clubs to be as mobile as they can be. So we're trying to fight for that.
So that was my last question. Is there anything you want to promote or add before we wrap up?
I mean, obviously, I'm going to advocate for SGA. Come to SGA, where we meet on Tuesdays at 12:30, and that is where you can hear about clubs, the initiatives that we're taking as student government. Students can bring to the table initiatives that they'd like to see here on campus to be resolved or added on. So definitely come to SGA if you want to take a leadership role.
I think just end up going to the office and asking what clubs exist, because it's, I mean, as a student ambassador and like seeing incoming students here for tours and new freshmen coming in, there are so many options of so many things to do on campus, especially in clubs that students don't know about. They're so confused. I mean, as an 18-year-old coming into college, there's so many options thrown at you, and you're like, oh, I like these 20 different things. What club can I do? So I think putting those clubs out more in a more efficient way. With the whole theme's a great way to do it, but pushing that out more and being like, hey, we have these list of clubs and these meeting times to new students coming in to make sure they have that outlet to go to.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Awesome.
We agree.
Well, thank you so much for being here. That wraps up this week's Coby Table Talk. Thank you for watching.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Woo.